Hello, viewers. I welcome us to the part 3 on how to write a lesson plan, which is also the last phase of our tutorial on how to write a lesson plan. I have taken us through the journey of understanding what a lesson plan is and also the components involved in a lesson plan or the components that make up a lesson plan. Also, I took us through the step-by-step guidelines of incorporating the Bloom's taxonomy, the domains of learning, and the teaching strategy or method into our lesson plan. Because the proper understanding of those three concepts will help us in designing an effective and engaging lesson plans for teaching in any secondary school setting in Nigeria or any part of the world. And today, we'll be looking at the last phase of the tutorial on how to write a lesson plan. And in this last phase, we'll be looking at a lesson plan sketch that I made to guide us as a model when we will be making a lesson plan or designing a lesson plan. And this sketch is just an overview, or let me say a summary of everything we have done. Here is the sketch of the lesson plan. The lesson plan, like I told us, is done recognizing all those components I told us in part 1. So the first component there is the lesson title, and under the lesson title here, as we can see, we have the name of school, class, subject, topic, subtopic, time, duration, period, sex, average age, and number in class. I decided to use a topic which I'm more familiar with. But this doesn't mean that you cannot apply this model in every other subject. This is the same model, this is the same way you write lesson plan in every other subject. All right, so let's take a look at it one after the other. After the first component, the next one we have is behavioral objectives. And under the behavioral objectives, we saw how I put it here. This is how you are also going to do yours. At the end of this lesson, the student should be able to define photosynthesis and identify its importance to plants and the ecosystem. 2. To explain the process of photosynthesis, including its reactant and products. 3. Illustrate with a diagram the role of chlorophyll in photosynthesis. In bringing out these my behavioral objectives, I was able to put Bloom's taxonomy and the domains of learning in mind. So it is the knowledge of Bloom's taxonomy and domains of learning that will guide you on how to draft out your behavioral objectives. So let's look at my behavioral objectives, for example. Define photosynthesis. This word, define photosynthesis, deals, or let me say, it appeals to the cognitive domain of the learner. It is something that the learner has to think before he can be able to answer. And also, if you look at it, I say define and identify. If you look at that place when I was teaching you about the stages of Bloom's taxonomy, you find out that this one is at the lower level of Bloom's taxonomy. Then the next one we have here, you see, I asked the next objective here, I said, explain the processes of photosynthesis. For you to be able to explain something, it has to do with something that is affective. So this one now has to do with the affective domain of learning. It appeals to the affective domain of the learner. Then the last one there, we see, the last one here, I have illustrate with a diagram the role of chlorophyll in photosynthesis. This aspect now that is talking about the student having to draw something involves the psychomotor aspect. It involves the psychomotor aspect of learning. It involves the psychomotor domain. So it appeals to the psychomotor because it involves the student using of motor skills. It's something that has to do with motor skills. It has to do with something that involves using of muscles. So that is the psychomotor. Then After this component, the next component we have is materials and teaching aids. So I listed out the things I will be using to teach this subject. I have my textbooks, which I may decide to call reference materials on photosynthesis. Then diagrams or models of plant cell that I will be bringing into the classroom. Then we have live plant specimen or images of plant cells, depending on the one I want to bring. So the reason why I'm adding live plant specimen or images of plant cell doesn't mean that when I will be making use of it, I'm going to write it like this. No, I either write live plant specimen if I'm bringing a live plant, or I write images of plant cells. Do you understand? So not that I'm writing the 12, I just indicated it like this in case if I don't have this one, I can have the other one. But for example, if I'm to come to the class, I already know the one I can come with. I already know the one I have. So I'll just indicate that one that I'm bringing to the class. Then you see chart paper and markers. When we talk about chart paper here, some schools may be using chart paper, some school might be using chalkboard, some school might be using whiteboard. So the one you people have, you indicate it there. Then multimedia resources. If am I coming with multimedia resources? If I'm coming with it, then I will indicate multimedia resources, videos, animations on photosynthesis. Then worksheet or handout. Am I coming with a handout to the class? Maybe at the end of the class, I will give the students that handout. Okay, copy this or photocopy this and use it and study. So that is it about materials and teaching aid. Then the next one is the teaching method. And in part 2 of these tutorials, I was able to tell us some of the teaching method. And as you can see here, the teaching method I intend to use to teach is lecture method, discussion method, hand-on activities method, multimedia presentation. These are the things I intend to use to teach this photosynthesis. Then the next one is the entry behavior. Under the entry behavior, that is where I stated the prior knowledge of the student. That is what the students already know before now. And as you can see, I said that the students already know some green plants such as grasses and even trees. And then also, I indicated that the teacher also conduct a pre-assessment quiz to assess students' prior knowledge of photosynthesis. The pre-assessment here involves me coming into the classroom to ask the student, Chidimma, what is photosynthesis? Amaka, what is photosynthesis? Or I may come to the class not even calling them by names, and then I will ask, who can tell us what is photosynthesis? Chidinma, stand up. What is photosynthesis? What did you understand on your own words? What do you understand by photosynthesis? So from the information I will get from them, then I will know how far, what idea do they have? Are they having a misconception about photosynthesis, or they actually have an idea, or they don't even have idea at all what photosynthesis is all about? So that will give me a clue on how I am going to teach. So that is the entry behavior. So that is what I did here. Then after that, the next one is the set induction. Then under the set induction, that is where I prepare the students for what I'm about to teach. I kind of prepare their mind on what they're expecting me to teach them. So as you can see what I have here, I said the teacher gathers the child's attention by saying, have you ever wondered how plants make their own food? You understand? So that's how I decided to start my class. How I decided to bring the interest of the students in what I'm about to teach is set induction. Then after set induction, we now move to the next one, which is the teaching procedure. The teaching procedure now, like I told us in part 1, is the teaching and learning experience. That is where the teaching and learning experience takes place. That is where the teacher and the student interaction happens. That is where the teaching itself takes place. So under this teaching procedure, this is how it should look like. If you observe, you see that we have steps, we have content, we have the teacher activities, we have the students activities, and then we have the teaching strategies. So under the steps, we have step 1, step 2, step 3. All these steps are in line with the teaching objectives that we have. All these steps are in line with the teaching objectives that we have. So as you can see, under the content, okay, I say step 1, and I have the content, introduction. And if you check the introduction, I say the introduction should be 10 minutes. So that is part of the lesson plan. As you are planning, you also plan your time. You plan with your time, the time you have to teach that class. Are you using 45 minutes? Are you using 90 minutes? So depending on the time you have, that's how you are going to plan your class. Okay, as you can see here, I plan it. I say, okay, introduction 10 minutes. So I'm expected that within 10 minutes, I am done with introduction. Then you check, I put teachers' activities. Show a captivating image of a green forest or a vibrant garden and ask the student to share their observations. So you see how I put it down here. Then I also have the student activities, what I'm expecting the students to do when I am doing my own activity. What do I expect the students to do? And then I'll also indicate the type of teaching strategy I'm going to use in my introduction. As you see, I put class discussion. So it is this process that I applied even when I came to my step two. My step two, under the content, I have my first behavioral objective, which is what? Define photosynthesis and identify its importance. That one, I gave it 15 minutes. And I also indicate what I should be doing under the teacher activities and what I expect the students to be doing, and also the teaching objective. Then after that, the next one, you saw the step 3 here. The step 3 here captures the objective 2. And then also, as you can see here, I said that this one is going to take 40 minutes. Then here, as you can see again, I have the teacher's activities, what I expect the students to be doing, and then the lecture method I intend to use here. I said I'll be using lecture method, visual aids. I'll also be using multimeter presentation. So this is where I will do all of that. Then if you check again, we have the step 4. Under the step 4, we have illustrate with a diagram the role of chlorophyll. This is the third objective, the third behavioral objective. And here I also state what the teacher will be doing within that period. I stated what the teacher will be doing within that period. The teacher draws a plant with broad leaves. It's just a sketch. It's not even something I'm going to draw more. It's just you use your pen, or if the school is high enough that you can be able to use animation, you use animation. So you indicate that you're going to use animation. Then you just bring out the picture, show them sun, how the sun rays gets down to the leaves, and then you explain to them how the chlorophyll is able to convert the sun rays to food. So as you can see here, I say that this one is going to take me like 15 minutes. And you can see here, I stated also what the students will be doing, and then the lecture method I'll be using lecture method. Like under the teaching method, I'll be using lecture method, and I'll be using visual aids, and then or even sketch a diagram on the board. So this is what I'll be doing on that step 4. Then after the step 4, the next one I have is step 5. Under the step 5, I have the hands-on activity, photosynthesis simulation. This one I say is going to take me 30 minutes. And then under the teacher's activity, I stated what I am going to do, as you can see. And then also I stated what the students will do for me. And then I also stated the teaching method I'm going to use, which is what? Simultaneous variation and group work. Then after that, we have the step 6. Under the step 6 is just a recap and summary. You understand? And I said that the recap and summary is 10 minutes. On the teacher's activities, I stated that I'm going to summarize everything we have done so far, and then also what I expect the students to be doing. And then I indicated that what I'll be using here is lecture and visual aids. So with this, I'm done with my table. And then the next one now is the evaluation. Then under the evaluation, as you can see here, I stated the teacher activity. Under it, I stated what the teacher will be doing. And also stated the student activity, what I expected the students to be doing under the evaluation. Then after the evaluation, the next one you see, like the evaluation, I gave it 10 minutes. After that, then the last one is what? A follow-up activity, whereby I give the students homework. And then there I stated that teacher activity, assign a homework task where the student research and write a short paragraph on the significance of photosynthesis in sustaining life on Earth. So this is the assignment I intend to give the students. This is the assignment I intend to give the students at the end of the lesson. So this is it about how to write a lesson plan. This is a comprehensive way of designing a lesson plan, putting in mind the Bloom's taxonomy, the domains of learning, and also the teaching method and strategies that I have taught you, and also following all the components one after the other. So once you do something like this is a professional way of writing a lesson plan. I want to also chip in something. You know, what I taught us here is lesson plan and not lesson note. Some people used to have a little bit of confusion between lesson plan and lesson notes. The truth of the matter here is that lesson plan and lesson note follow the same process. But the only difference, listen, the only difference between a lesson plan and a lesson note is that a lesson note is elaborate, is more elaborate than a lesson plan. A lesson plan is just straight to the point, what you want to do in the class when you are teaching. Then a lesson note is the note you want the students to have after you have finished teaching. So if you observe that, they are not the same thing. But the lesson note follows the same process. It has to capture everything you taught in the class. The lesson note has to capture everything you taught in the class. So how do you now write a lesson note? You write a lesson note by following each of them. So, okay, you start from introduction, then you just give a little brief of introduction in your notes, and then you are done with your introduction. Then you go to your step one. Teachers write their lesson note differently. Some people will write their lesson note just going straight to the point without indicating the steps. They'll just write the introduction, then they'll follow by the definition, go down to how they explain whatever it is and the rest of it. Some teachers do it this way, but some teachers follow is step by step. They will indicate step one, then introduction, then they will write whatever they want to write there, then they will indicate step two. They will define. They will say step two, definition, and then they will define. Step three, they will explain. Step four, continuously. It depends on your head teacher, what your head teacher wants you to do. Or let me say, it depends on you also. If you don't have a head teacher in your school, lesson note is not done in a table. You don't write in a table. And also know that your lesson note does not contain students' activities, and your lesson note does not contain teaching strategy. The only thing that is in your lesson note is just the contents. The content is what make up your lesson notes. So at this point, we are coming to the end of our tutorials on how to write a lesson plan. And I hope that you enjoyed it, and I also hope that you learn. Please, I will be glad if you help me in sharing the link of this tutorial to your friends, so that you can help us build this platform, help us build this channel. It takes nothing to subscribe. You subscribing to my channel makes the work a little bit easy for me, because I am doing this video for you. And when I do the video and you did not see it, then it is useless. By subscribing to my channel, once I drop a video, you tend to see the video immediately. And then the purpose to which I took my time to make the video will not go in vain. Thank you for watching.